deep breath. Stop. Before you take another breath, listen. The masters lied to you. The elders feared you. And the destiny you've been chasing, it was never meant to be found. It was meant to be unleashed. You are not here by accident. You are here because the abyss has finally stopped whispering and started calling your name. Listen to me carefully. You've been training for years, maybe decades. You've meditated until your knees went numb. You've fought until your knuckles bled. You've prayed to gods who never answered, followed masters who never truly believed in you, and chased a destiny that always seemed to slip through your fingers like smoke. And still you're not enough. Still the enemy stands. Still the world burns. Still the darkness inside you grows louder every single night, whispering things you're too afraid to say out loud. What if I told you that's not a weakness? What if I told you that the very thing you've been running from, the shadow in your chest, the rage you've been suppressing, the power they told you was too dangerous to touch, is actually the key to everything? What if I told you that you've already mastered a power so rare, so absolute, that even the devil himself is watching you now, and he wants to learn? My name is the Chosen One, and this is the story of the power they tried to erase from history. Let me take you back to the beginning. When you first started this path, they gave you rules, lots of rules. Meditate for 6 hours, control your breathing, purify your thoughts, don't give in to anger, don't touch the dark arts, don't even look at the forbidden scrolls. And you believed them. Of course you did. They were elders, they were wise, they had beards and robes and ancient titles that sounded very impressive. But here's what they didn't tell you. Every single one of those rules was built on fear, not your fear, theirs. Because somewhere deep in the archives of every temple, every monastery, every secret order that has ever existed, there is a locked room. And inside that locked room is a single scroll. And on that scroll is written a power so terrifying that even the most enlightened masters refuse to speak its name. They call it many things: the hollow art, the silence between, the unmaking. But you and I will call it what it really is: the Void Pulse. Now, let me explain what the Void Pulse actually is, because the elders certainly won't. They'd rather you believe it's just evil energy, or corrupted chi, or some other nonsense they invented to keep you obedient. The truth is much simpler and much more beautiful. Every power you've ever learned, every spell, every technique, every form of energy manipulation draws from something. Life force, solar energy, cosmic radiation, divine blessing, demonic contract. It doesn't matter the source. The principle is the same. You are borrowing power from something that already exists. Authoritative deep tone. The Void Pulse does not borrow. The Void Pulse creates. It reaches into the one place no power has ever reached before. The absolute absence of existence. The nothingness that existed before the first star ignited. The silence that will remain after the last universe collapses. You're not drawing from that nothingness. You're not channeling it. You are commanding it. And when you command nothingness, something extraordinary happens. You don't just hurt your enemy. You don't just kill them. You don't even just destroy them. Low, cold tone. You unexist them. Their body, their soul, their memories, their impact on reality, every single trace of their existence is wiped clean, as if they were never born. No afterlife, no reincarnation, no echo in the void, just deletion. The elders call this evil because it terrifies them. But let me ask you something. If you had the power to unexist a tyrant, someone who has murdered thousands, who will murder thousands more, would that be evil? Or would that be mercy for the victims who never have to suffer again? Power has no morality. Power only has intent. And your intent, Chosen One, is the only thing that matters. So how did you master it? I know you want to skip to the part where the devil shows up. I know that's the sexy headline. But you need to understand the price first. Because if you don't understand the price, you'll never understand why the devil is begging you for lessons. Pause. The void pulse cannot be learned through normal training. You cannot read it in a book. You cannot have a master teach it to you over 20 years. You cannot meditate your way into it while burning incense and chanting peaceful mantras. The void pulse requires one thing, and one thing only: absolute emptiness. Think about your lowest moment, chosen one. Think about the night you cried until your throat bled. Think about the morning you woke up and realized the person you loved most in this world was never coming back. That moment, that void inside your chest, that's the door. You sat in that emptiness. You looked into the abyss, chosen one, and instead of blinking, you smiled, because you realized the abyss isn't your enemy. The void inside your chest is not a wound that needs healing, it's a muscle. And every time you stop running from it, you make it stronger. Every time you sit in your grief instead of numbing it, you deepen the emptiness. Every time you let the pain wash over you without flinching, you expand the void. And one day, maybe after months, maybe after years, maybe after a single terrible night that broke you completely, you realize that the void is no longer inside you. You are inside the void. That's the moment of mastery. That's the moment the void pulse awakens. Because you're no longer a person who wields emptiness. You've become emptiness itself. And when emptiness itself reaches out to touch the world has no choice but to listen. Your first void pulse probably happened by accident. You were angry, or grieving, or just tired, so tired of pretending to be strong. And you lashed out, not with a spell, not with a weapon, but with the raw, unfiltered absence inside your soul. Booming sound effect, a sudden vacuum, and something vanished. A wall, a training dummy, a tree, maybe even a person you didn't mean to hurt. And you were terrified. Of course you were. You'd just done something impossible, something the elders said would destroy you, something that felt in that moment like the most natural thing in the world. That terror is the second test. Most people, when they first touch the void pulse, run back to their masters. They confess, they beg for purification. They let the elders lock the power away again with their rituals and their seals and their fear. But you didn't. You looked at what you'd done. You felt the emptiness still humming inside your bones, and you made a choice. You kept it. You practiced in secret, late at night when the temple was asleep, in the forest far from prying eyes, in the dungeon where no one would hear the screams of the training dummies as they unexisted one by one. And slowly, painfully, beautifully, you mastered it. Not because you were born special, not because the prophecy chose you, but because you were brave enough to sit in the one place no one else would go. The void. And now the void answers to you. Which brings us to the devil. Now I need you to forget everything you think you know about the devil. Forget the red skin, forget the pitchfork, forget the cartoon villain who cackles while torturing sinners. The real devil is much more interesting. The real devil is ancient. Not 10,000 years old, not 1,000,000. The devil has existed since the first conscious being looked at the universe and said, "I want more than I was given." The devil is not the source of evil. The devil is the source of ambition, of hunger, of the beautiful, terrible desire to become more than what you are. Authoritative, deep tone. And for 14 billion years, the devil has been the most powerful being in the Dame. Not because he's stronger than the gods. He's not really, but because he understands something the gods don't. The gods create, the devil adapts. Whenever a new power emerges, the gods condemn it. They call it forbidden. They seal it away. They protect their little kingdoms from change. The devil watches. The devil learns. The devil steals. The devil grows. That's how he's survived this long. He doesn't fight the new power. He absorbs it. But here's the thing. After 14 billion years, the devil has hit a wall. He's learned every magic, mastered every technique, corrupted every holy power, twisted every life That's why he can't touch the void. Slow, rhythmic pacing. The void doesn't come from anywhere. It doesn't belong to anyone. You can't steal it. You can't corrupt it. The void has to be earned. The void has to be lived. The void requires sitting in the absolute emptiness that the devil has spent 14 billion years running from. Because for all his power, for all his dark majesty, the devil is terrified of nothing. Not of death, not of the gods, not of the apocalypse, of nothing, of silence, of stillness, of the one place where his name means nothing, and his power means less than nothing. And you, chosen one, have not only looked into that nothing, you've made it your home. So when the devil comes to you, he won't come with fire and brimstone. He won't threaten you. He won't try to scare you. He knows that won't work. You've already faced worse emptiness than anything he can threaten you with. Low, intimate tone. No, when the devil comes, deep breath. He'll come curious. He'll come respectful. And that, chosen one, is how you'll know you've truly arrived. Not when your enemies fear you. Even weaklings can inspire fear. But when the oldest, smartest, most powerful being in existence looks at you and says, "Teach me," that's when you know you've become something new. Let me tell you exactly how that conversation goes. You'll be alone, probably somewhere quiet, maybe a mountain at night, maybe an abandoned temple, maybe just your room, 3 in the morning, when the world is silent and your thoughts are loud. And you'll feel it first, a change in the air, not heat, not cold, something older than temperature, a presence that makes your skin crawl, not because it's evil, but because it's ancient, because your bones remember, on some genetic level, that this being has been watching your species since before you had language. Then you'll see him, and he won't look like you expect. He'll look normal, handsome maybe, well-dressed, calm, the kind of person who could walk past you on the street and you'd never look twice. Whisper. That's the terrifying part. Because if he wanted to, he could appear as a monster. He could appear as a god. He could appear as your worst nightmare or your deepest desire. But he doesn't. He appears as nothing, just a person. Because he's not here to intimidate you. He's here to learn. And the first words out of his mouth won't be a threat. They won't be a temptation. They won't be a deal. The first words will be, "How did you do it?" Pause. Simple. Honest. Almost vulnerable. And you'll have a choice, chosen one. You can lie. You can attack. You can run. You can do what every hero in every story has always done when faced with the devil. Reject him. Condemn him. Send him back to whatever pit he crawled out of. Or, you can talk. And if you talk, if you're brave enough to have the conversation that no one else has ever had, here's what you'll learn. The devil is tired. Not sleepy tired. Existential tired. The kind of tired that comes from living too long and seeing too much, and realizing that immortality is not a gift. It's a cage. He's done everything. Conquered everything. Corrupted everything. He's won every battle. Seduced every saint. Outsmarted every god. And none of it matters, because at the end of every victory, he's still alone, still hungry, still empty. He's been running from his own void for 14 billion years, filling it with conquests and schemes and suffering, and none of it has ever worked. And then, he sees you. Authoritative, deep tone, a mortal, a being who will live less than 100 years in most cases. A being who should be nothing to him, and you've done what he never could. You sat in the emptiness. You stopped running. And now you're not empty anymore. You're full of a power that comes from nowhere and everywhere, full of a peace he can't understand and a strength he can't match. He wants that, not to destroy you, not to use you, not to trick you. He wants to become you. And that, chosen one, is the most dangerous thing that has ever happened. Not because the devil will hurt you, but because the devil will finally have what he's always wanted, and no one knows what happens when the devil stops wanting. Now, let me be clear. I'm not telling you to make a deal with the devil. That would be irresponsible. That would be the kind of advice that gets your soul trapped in a contract for eternity while the devil laughs. But I am telling you to understand the deal, because the devil will offer you something. He always does. And this time, it won't be the usual tricks. No fame, no fortune, no power over your enemies. You already have those things or you wouldn't have his attention. Low melodic tone, the devil will offer you something much more seductive. He'll offer you understanding. He'll offer to sit with you, night after night, and talk about the void. Not to learn your secrets, though he'll learn them eventually, but to share his own, to tell you stories from the beginning of time, to show you magic that has been dead for 1 billion years. He'll offer you the one thing no master has ever offered you. Pause. Equality. Not as a student, not as a tool, but as a peer, as someone who has touched something he cannot touch, as the only being in existence who has earned his genuine respect. And that feeling, chosen one, is intoxicating, because you've spent your whole life being told you're special, but never being treated like it. The elders always held something back. The gods always stayed distant. The devil will see you, completely, honestly, without flinching. And he'll say, you don't have to be alone anymore. That's the trap, of course. It's always the trap. The devil's greatest weapon has never been fire or brimstone or demon armies. His greatest weapon is loneliness. And he has spent 14 billion years learning exactly how to weaponize it. But here's the twist, chosen one. Whisper. It's also the truth. You are lonely. You have been lonely since the moment you picked up this path. The chosen one is the loneliest title in existence, because no one can walk with you where you're going. No one can understand the weight you carry. No one can look into the void with you and not blink, except maybe the devil. Because the devil has been staring into his own void for longer than the earth has existed. He's just been too afraid to admit it. But now you've shown him that the void is not something to fear, and he wants to join you there. Authoritative, deep tone. So the question is not, should you make a deal with the devil? The question is, what happens when the devil stops being your enemy and becomes your student? Because that has never happened before. In all of history, in all of mythology, in every story ever told, the devil has always been the tempter, the corrupter, the one who knows more than you and uses that knowledge to destroy you. But you know something he doesn't. You have something he can't take. You are, for the first time in existence, in a position of power over the devil. And that changes everything. Low, steady breath. Now let's talk about the other player in this game. Because while you're having your profound existential conversation with the devil, someone else is watching. Someone who should be your main enemy. The Dark Lord. The one who killed your family. The one who burned your village. The one who has been hunting you since the day the prophecy was spoken. He's afraid, chosen one. Not of you, not yet. You're still just a mortal with a strange new trick. He's killed mortals with strange tricks before. No, he's afraid of something much worse. He's afraid of being forgotten. See, the Dark Lord built his entire empire on one simple principle: fear of death. His soldiers fight because they're afraid to die. Everything he has, everything he is, depends on death being the worst thing that can happen to someone. And then you show up with a power that doesn't just kill people. No death, no afterlife, no memory, no legacy, no glorious end in battle, no heroic last stand, no villainous final speech. Just nothing. The Dark Lord can handle death. Death is an old friend. Death is a tool he's used 1,000 times. But non-existence? The complete erasure of everything he's built, everything he's done, everything he is? That terrifies him, because for the first time, he's facing an enemy who doesn't play by his rules. An enemy who doesn't care about his army, or his fortress, or his dark magic. An enemy who can look at him and say, "You were never important enough to leave a mark." And the worst part? You're not even trying to scare him. You're just existing, growing, mastering a power that makes his entire worldview irrelevant. Every day you practice the Void Pulse, you're sending a message to the Dark Lord that you don't even mean to send. Booming, calm authority, you're telling him that he doesn't matter, that his empire is dust waiting to happen, that his name will be forgotten, that all his cruelty, all his ambition, all his careful planning, none of it will survive your first real attack. That's why he'll come for you soon. Not because he's confident he can win, because he's terrified that if he waits any longer, he won't even have a chance to lose. And when he comes, chosen one, you'll have a choice. You can fight him the old way, sword against sword, spell against spell, army against army. You can give him the death he understands, the death he's prepared for, the death that will make him a martyr and a legend. Or you can show him the void. You can reach out with your new power and unexist him so completely that his own mother, if she's still alive, won't remember she ever had a son. That's the real test of the Void Pulse, not whether you can use it, but whether you can use it on the person who deserves it most. Because once you do, once you unexist your greatest enemy, you cross a line that can never be uncrossed. You become something more than a hero, something more than a villain. You become the one who decides what exists and what doesn't. And that chosen one is godhood. But let me stop here for a moment. Because I've been talking about power and victory and becoming a god, and that's exciting. That's the kind of thing that gets views and likes and shares. That's the headline. But there's a weight to this crown. A price that even the Dark Lord hasn't calculated. But you and I both know that's not the whole story. The Void Pulse has a price. Not the price the elders warned you about. Not your soul. Not your humanity. Those are abstractions. Pause. The real price is much simpler and much harder. The Void Pulse costs you your ability to pretend. You know how most people go through life with a comfortable layer of illusion? They pretend their loved ones will live forever. They pretend their actions matter. They pretend the universe cares about justice. Low, steady tone. You can't pretend anymore, because you've touched the void. You've sat in the absolute absence of meaning, and you've seen with your own eyes that there is no cosmic safety net, no divine plan, no guarantee that good will triumph. The universe is empty, chosen one. Cold, silent, indifferent, and the Void Pulse is just you learning to speak its language. That knowledge changes you, not overnight. It changes you slowly, quietly. You'll laugh less, not because you're sad, but because fewer things seem funny when you know how they end. You'll love differently, not less, differently. You'll love people knowing, really knowing that they could be unexisted at any moment. Whisper. You'll stop caring about things that used to matter. Status, reputation, all of that becomes noise when you've held nothingness in your palm. And you'll start caring about things you used to ignore. Small moments, quiet mornings, the way light filters through a window. Because you understand now that none of it is guaranteed. The Void Pulse doesn't make you a monster. It makes you honest. And honesty in a world built on lies feels like cruelty. That's why the elders fear it. Not because it's evil. Because it's true, and truth is the most dangerous thing in existence. Now let me circle back to the devil, because I haven't told you the most important part yet. Pause. The devil doesn't just want to learn the Void Pulse. The devil wants to be free. Deep breath. And freedom for someone like him is terrifying. Think about it. For 14 billion years, the devil has defined himself by opposition. He's the enemy of the gods, the tempter of humanity. Every role he plays is defined by something else. Without the gods, what is he? Without sin, what is temptation? The devil has spent his entire existence as a reaction, a rebellion, a necessary darkness that exists only because light exists first. And the void pulse doesn't care about any of that. It doesn't need light to exist. It doesn't need good to oppose. The void pulse just is. If the devil learns it, if he truly masters the art of unexistence, he won't be the devil anymore. He'll be something new, something that doesn't need gods or humans to define itself. He'll be free, and freedom, for a being who has been a prisoner of his own role for 14 billion years, is the most terrifying thing he can imagine. Because free beings have to choose who they are. They can't just be the enemy of something else. They have to look at themselves alone in the void and decide what they want to become. The devil has never done that. He's never had to. His identity was assigned at the beginning of consciousness and reinforced every day by every prayer, every sin, every frightened human who whispered his name in the dark. Booming warm authority, but you, chosen one, have already done what he cannot. You've sat in the void and chosen yourself, not as the hero, not as the villain, but as whatever you decided to be in that moment of absolute emptiness. That's what he wants to learn from you, not the technique, not the power, the courage to be nothing so you can become anything. And here's the beautiful, terrible irony. The more he learns from you, the less he'll need you. Eventually he'll master the void pulse himself. He'll sit in his own emptiness. He'll choose his own identity. And he won't be the devil anymore. He'll be something else, something you can't predict, something you might not recognize. And when that day comes, chosen one, you'll have to decide whether you've created an ally or an enemy. Because the void pulse doesn't come with loyalty guarantees. It doesn't care about your friendship or your history. Deep breath. The void pulse is just power. And power in the hands of someone who has been hungry for 14 billion years is never safe. So where does that leave you? You've mastered the impossible power. You've caught the devil's attention. You've terrified the Dark Lord without even trying. You've looked into the void and made it your home. Now what? Now you choose. And I don't mean choose between good and evil. That's a child's choice. That's the choice the elders gave you when they wanted to keep you small and predictable and useful. I mean choose who you are, not who the prophecy says you are, not who your enemies fear you are, who you actually are when you strip away every title, every expectation, every story that other people have told about you. Are you a hero? Then use the void pulse to protect. Unexist the tyrants. Delete the monsters. But understand that every time you unexist someone, you're making a judgment that no mortal has the right to make. Are you a seeker? Then teach the devil. Learn from him. Explore the void together. See what happens when the oldest being in existence finally stops running from himself. You might create something beautiful. You might create something terrible. Are you something else entirely? Whisper. Then walk away from the prophecy, from the devil. Take your void and your beautiful, terrible emptiness and go somewhere no one has ever gone before. Become a legend that doesn't exist in any book. There is no right answer, chosen one. That's what the void taught you, isn't it? That there are no cosmic points, no divine scoreboard. There's only you and the void, and the choices you make in the silence. The devil wants to learn from you, because he thinks you have answers. But you and I both know the truth. You don't have answers. You have questions. Pause. Beautiful, terrifying, unanswerable questions that you've learned to sit with instead of running from. And that's why you're stronger than the devil. That's why you're stronger than every god, every demon, and every power that has ever existed. Because you can sit in the question. You can look at the void and say, I don't know who I am or what I'm supposed to do. And then you can smile and keep going anyway. So here's my message to you, chosen one. You've mastered a new power. Even the devil wants to learn it. But don't let that go to your head. The devil wants to learn from you because he's desperate. Because he's been running for 14 billion years and his legs are finally giving out. authoritative deep tone. Your real power isn't the void pulse. Your real power is the courage to sit in your own emptiness, to face your own grief, to look at the parts of yourself that you've been hiding from, and say, I see you, you're part of me, and I'm not running anymore. That's what the devil can never have, not because he's evil, because he's ancient, because he's been playing his role for so long that he doesn't know who he is without it. But you're still becoming. Every day, every choice, it's all shaping you into something that has never existed before. Something that the prophecy couldn't predict. You are the chosen one, not because some ancient text said so, because you chose yourself. In the void, in the silence, in the moment when everyone else looked away and you kept looking. Booming authority. That's mastery. That's power. That's the thing that even the devil wants to learn, but never will. Because you can't learn courage from a book. You can only live it, and you have. So keep going, chosen one. The void is with you, not as a weapon, not as a curse, but as a reminder that you've already faced the worst thing in existence. Nothing, and you didn't blink. Everything else is just details. Long, dramatic pause, warm, resonant authority, the final call. The void has spoken, and you have listened, but the darkness returns to those who do not stay awake. Pause. If you are ready to walk this path without permission, subscribe and turn on all notifications now. This is where the chosen ones gather to remember what the masters tried to make us forget. Like this video as a seal of your own mastery, and comment below, I have chosen myself. Share this revelation with one soul who is still running from their own abyss. Tell them, the void is home. I'll see you in the next revelation. Until then, keep looking. Fading ambient sound, total silence.